How will the seesawing stock market affect our economy? We'll have some answers on today's program. Also, we'll have a performance by the Ball State University Banevolks and an excerpt from the rock opera Evita. Dr. Grant Wells, Ball State University Professor of Finance, is with us today to talk about the fluctuating stock market and long-range implications. Dr. Wells, why is the market acting in such an erratic manner, kind of a yo-yo fashion?
Well, I believe there are a number of factors on why the market has reacted in such a violent fashion in the past 2 weeks. Things were going along well, as most of you remember. As far as the Dow was concerned, we hit a high of 2,700 in the Dow this past year. Most analysts, most technicians, most chartists believe that the market would sort of drop to about 2,300 to 2,350 in the Dow, and then there would be a bounce and then move up into a higher figure than the 2,722 that we've had on the Dow. Things were going along well until the September trade deficit came out. That was running at about $15.68 billion for the month. Most people did not believe it would be that high. When the figure came out, many of the people from the foreign markets, the German market, the West German market, the Japanese, decided to come in and to sell. When the selling started, and it got below the 2,300, it got below the support level, we got involved with program trading, program selling. This exacerbated the whole problem. There was an interesting article in the USA Today just in the past week, and it commented about the specialist. A specialist is an individual that will handle 4 or 5 stocks and try to support the stock either on the way up or on the way down so that we do not have violent swings in the market. When the market started to plunge because of it appears like program trading, the specialists were unable to support the prices at figures below the previous sale. When the market got down to 100 and I think it was 2 on the Friday before Black Monday, October 19th, this led to a lot of fears over the weekend. When Monday opened, October 19th, Black Monday, there were just a vast number of sell orders. And from what I understand, people were just selling from a panic point of view. It is also my understanding that on Monday, October 19th, the Dow hit an intraday low of 598.
Could you explain the Dow to those who don't deal in stocks? It's rather mysterious, and is it quite simple to understand?
The Dow Jones is comprised of 30 blue-chip New York Stock Exchange securities. We must take into consideration that there are about 2,400 securities on the New York Stock Exchange. The Dow comprises 30 securities.
Of the best, the most valuable?
The most valuable, a good earnings record, a long history of being outstanding companies and corporations such as AT&T, IBM, Merck. You can go on and on. The problem we have is that you're talking about 30 stocks comprising the Dow and you have 2,400 securities on the New York Stock Exchange. To look at the 2 indices that are probably the best as far as telling us which way the market has gone would be the Wilshire Index that includes 5,000 securities. That would be the over-the-counter, the American Exchange, and the New York Stock Exchange, or just the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index.
Yeah, we don't hear of the Wilshire.
Well, only if you watch Channel 49, and it's with Paul Kangas on the Nightly Business Report. They always talk about the Wilshire Index.
Well, how does the Dow affect the market? I mean, we're talking about the Dow plummeting so many points. How is that determined?
Well, what you do at the end of each half hour, quarter hour, you add up the price of each stock listed in the Dow, all 30 securities, and there is a reciprocal that is less than 1 at this time, and that will give you what we call the Dow Jones Industrial Index.
So, when it goes down, I mean, how do they determine what points it goes down? Is that dollar volume, are they talking? So many points it plummets?
When you talk, well, actually, if you just divide the total value of the 30 stocks, the market price of the 30 stocks divided by the reciprocal, this will give you the Dow Jones as of a specific point in time. Supposedly, when the Dow was falling here on October 19th, they were just taking the specific price as of each time the stock changed.
I see. Now, how do you think the Black Monday action and subsequent action in the market is going to affect our economy, either on a short-range basis or a long-range basis?
Well, there are a number of factors we must consider. The fear of God was placed into the minds of millions and millions of investors, not only in the United States on October 19th, but investors around the world. It is my understanding that when the Dow dropped down to 1,738 on Black Monday, that the investing public had $1 trillion less in wealth. If people feel less wealthy, they will hold back on the purchase of homes, automobiles, and other consumer durables. So therefore, a plummeting market has an enormous effect upon what the individuals think and what they do. Another factor is, in the market, many corporations have purchased securities for the corporate or for the employees' pension fund or funds. People that do not own stocks themselves but are in a pension plan supported by securities must certainly stop to analyze what happened on October 19th. Hopefully, the Dow, somewhere in the vicinity of 17 or 1800, will commence a base building. A few very prominent stock market analysts believe that the Dow could fall to the 13 to 1400 range.
That would be disastrous.
That would be a disaster. That is true.
Calamity. I'd like to ask you a question. I read a report that President Reagan came within 15 minutes of closing the exchange. Wouldn't this also have been a disaster?
There have been a number of comments pertaining to should we or should we not close the exchange. I think the president of the New York Stock Exchange, who opted to keep the market open, made a very wise decision. If he would have closed the exchange, this would have caused more of a panic around the United States and the world.
Can the president just arbitrarily close the exchange, say, you're done, you're closed today? Can he do that? It's a private
I believe that the president, along with the SEC, have the power to close the exchange.
Okay, let me ask you just this final question. Are you encouraged? Do you think that we'll rebound and that we'll see a strengthening of the economy in the next few months?
At the present time, the economy is not doing that badly. The major problem appears to me to be what will Congress and the President finally do with some of the major problems that we have. Congress wants to raise taxes. This could be a major problem. If taxes are raised, this will lead to less purchasing, in other words, less funds by the individual to go out and buy consumer durables and so forth. The deficits, both the trade and the budget deficit, must be trimmed. How much is a debatable question. You're well aware that Congress is debating this point at this time regarding, do we have a $23 to $30 billion cut this year? If you look at the ramifications of this, you could realize that cutting the federal budget by $30 billion will mean there is $30 billion less in the economy down the road. In answer to your question, I am optimistic that Congress and the President can work this problem out. I believe that we are going to have a very vacillating stock market in the next 4, 5, or 6 months. Next year is an election year. It's my hope that both the President and the House and the Senate can get together and make sure that 1988 is a good year for the general population.
Dr. Grant Wells, professor of finance, talking about the market. Dr. Wells, incidentally, predicted in August that the market would take a downturn in the fall, and he certainly was right on target. Now the University Banevolks dancers perform a Croatian dance. The University Banevolks are directed by Gregory Lunt. Dr. Donald LaCasse, Chairman, Ball State University Department of Theater, is our guest in studio today. We're going to talk about his production of the award-winning rock opera, Evita. And Evita, of course, is one of the most popular in recent years. Did a long run on Broadway?
Yes, it had quite a long run, very successful show.
Very colorful, too, is it not?
Yes, it is. You try to bring some of the color and pageantry of Argentina, and yet it has its, certainly its very dark moments as well.
Sure. We're going to show now, as we take a look at this videotape, I think this is, what, the beginning of the second act?
Yes, the beginning of the second act taking place at the balcony of the Casa Rosada, the inauguration of Rome.
Okay. And the song, of course, we selected, I've always liked, and when I have that option, it's nice to be able to choose. And it's Don't Cry For Me, Argentina. Who plays the lead?
The lead is Cindy Williams, who's a senior theater major.
Okay, and this is opening on what now, as we see?
We're opening here on Che, who's with the chorus there, played by Richard Williams, music major, senior. And we're leading into Perón's inauguration. There he's taking off his shirt to show his solidarity with the workers. The shirtless ones are descamisados, as they're called.
I noticed you had the vintage microphone there.
Yes. Some of the props in the show are really quite amazing. We had to do a great deal of tracking down to get authentic props.
Clothing is very authentic.
Yes, it is. The costumes for the production are just marvelous, designed by Kathy Jaremski, our costume designer on staff.
Has this been a difficult production for you?
Well, it's a very large technical show. It requires a great number of light cues. I think we have nearly 400 light cues in the show. Tremendous set demands, staging demands, and costume. And the musical demands are really quite extensive, and we've just been very fortunate to have the support of the School of Music and the Ball State Symphony Orchestra, which plays for the production.
Great. I noticed the music was outstanding. What is this little scene where the man's taken off by security?
Che is being taken off by some of the secret police, as they were called, or bodyguards to Evita. And there is Perón there, getting ready for the entrance of Eva.
Now, this has already been performed, and you're going to perform again this week.
Yes, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, November 5 through 7.
And here she comes, and the lovely Cindy Williams.
Oh, she's just so lovely in that beautiful dress, modeled very much after the dress that, a dress that Eva had.
Now, you know, so many of the students aren't familiar with Perón and his history. How did you bring them up to date on it?
Well, we took a little different approach at the beginning of the show. Instead of having it begin with a film from one of Eva Perón's old movies, we began it with a newsreel under the premise that Eva Perón was near death. And the newsreel gave us a biographical look at Eva, and then we interrupt the film with the announcement of her death.
This has been very popular, and it's played in so many countries, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
And here she starts singing, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina.
Don't Cry For Me, Argentina.
It appears to be a superb production. I'm sure you're pleased with it.
Thank you. We're very excited.
Good. We took the video, Media Service did for us, I should say,
Yes,
at your dress rehearsal.
that's correct.
Good. Now, performances will be the 5th?
The 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Good. The second week. We don't usually have them 2 weeks, do we?
No, this is unusual, primarily because it was the opening of the season and a celebration of the newly renovated theater,
Good. The University Theater.
the University Theater.
Oh, yeah.
It's
the
lovely.
main stage, I like to call it. It's beautiful. And of course, they'll see a first-rate production in a first-rate theater. Good.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Don LaCasse.
Thank you.
Dr. Donald LaCasse, chairman of the Ball State University Department of Theater, our guest today, talking about his production of Evita, which we hope you won't miss. Thanks for joining us.